Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this event. So I did not prepare slides, but I'll speak from my heart, and I hope that will benefit. Also, thank you to the speakers who went before me. It was really nice to learn from all of you. So my name is Sarah Kiden, and I am a technologist and a researcher. And I've been invited to speak to you about how you can engage in the policy space within Mozilla. So Buki has given a disclaimer that I'm currently not affiliated with Mozilla as an employee or a fellow. I recently completed a 3-year fellowship, but I've been in the ecosystem for about 5 years now. So before we dive in, I just wanted to mention something that one of my mentors shared with me and another colleague who is new in the space and they're trying to find their place. And my mentor mentioned something that I reflect on a bit. He was saying that if you want to engage in one of the policy spaces, you should not think about the fellowships. Like that's not the first thing that should come to your mind. Rather, you should think about what you want to contribute into that space and what you want to get out of the experience. And I really like this kind of framing because it helps you to be focused on what you want. So you go into the experience to give something, and in turn, normally, most times you benefit something. So it could be maybe you want to gain experience in a particular area. Maybe you want to learn how to organize events or coordinate events, or you want to learn a new skill like managing grants or policy development and so on. But in order for you to do this, of course, you have to put in some work. So with that said, I think let's talk about ways in which you can contribute to policy within Mozilla. I've found that Mozilla is one of those organizations, and I think everyone who has spoken before, from ICANN to ISOC to Afrinic and to the IGF, those are spaces where people care about the open web, they care about ethics and trustworthiness of systems. So it's really refreshing to see that there are organizations that care about the human in the technology. So the very first way you can engage in Mozilla would be through the Mozilla Festival, or you'll hear people saying MozFest. It's a global event. Now it's hybrid in nature. And I would say that it's an conference. So it's not your regular panel style. It's usually more interactive, more facilitators and participants engaging in dialogue. It can be in the form of a short film. Some people have done art exhibitions where they, I remember there's a time somebody was trying to demonstrate something about your Facebook data and what happens with it. So it can take on any form. And there are many ways. I've even seen sessions which are led by young people who are below 18 years. I think one of my favorite was led by someone who was a teenager. So the nice thing is you can have all age groups come to this meeting and all kinds of professions, all kinds of backgrounds. So in the Mozilla Festival, you can be a wrangler. So wranglers are community organizers. You come together, you meet other wranglers, and you put the event together. So you go from suggesting possible themes, then you create a space. That's what the themes are called. So you curate a space. For example, when I was a wrangler, I was in the sustainability space. So we will talk about sustainability. What does sustainability mean on the internet or in technology? And then you put out a call for proposals, receive them, review them, and then support facilitators. So it's quite a bit of work putting this together, but it's very fulfilling. And I was a wrangler in 2020 and 2021. And when we came for the first meeting, we had an empty Google document, and seeing us going from an empty Google document to an event that was attended virtually by over 8,000 people, like it was very, very fulfilling. So the second way, if you're not a wrangler, you can be a facilitator. And to be a facilitator, basically you propose a session. The call for proposals is out. I think until December, I'll post the link on the chat if you're interested. And the third way is you can just come as a participant to contribute to discussions. So that's MozFest, 3 ways to engage. Then I've created a document with all the links, so I'll post it at the end of my talk. So the next way is through the Internet Health Report. So it's a report that Mozilla puts out every year, and it combines research and stories and publishes them to just explore what does it mean for the internet to be healthy. So it takes different forms each year. This year, for example, it was a podcast, and the podcast host worked with different communities in South Africa, in India, and in Brazil and other places to understand what they were doing in relation to the gig economy, how they're applying artificial intelligence in medicine, for example, people who are doing fact checking on Twitter, which I think now you know that some of these initiatives are really important. So that it takes different forms. Previous years, they've done reports. I know, like, for example, Buki contributed to the 2020 report. And basically, I think the discussion was around what's the best and the worst on the internet. That particular year, if you remember, 2020 was the year when COVID-19 changed our lives as we knew it. So that is through the Internet Health Report. You can help to, there are years I've not really contributed much. I've helped to read through and review some of the content. There are years I've taken a more active role where I've been part of, contributing to the theme. So you just decide what you feel is best for you. Then the other way is through the fellowships. I think everyone who has spoken before me has talked about fellowships. There are so many kinds of fellowships within Mozilla. So I'll start with the Open Web Pod, Mozilla Open Web Fellowship. You are hosted by a host organization. So this is how I came into Mozilla. I did a 10-month fellowship. So you work on a project of interest to you and to the organization. And in my case, we were doing work around internet measurements. And I met Amresh, who is now working with ISOC. That's really nice, actually. So we analyzed data from speed test applications and did quality of service analysis and then made policy recommendations. And policy being like more long-term. So policy, you can't, I've not seen cases where you change policy in like 1 month or 2 months. It takes a long time. So I did the fellowship from 2017 to 2018. And it's until 2019 that I started seeing some of the recommendations we had made. For example, Uganda was one of the countries we made recommendations. The broadband policy, like a lot of the things in the policy were things we had recommended. The communal access license, we had worked with people to propose that license, and then somehow the regulator responded to it. So that was really nice. It's been one of the things I'm really proud of up to now. But there are other fellowships like the Common Voice Fellowship. So the fellows in this fellowship are trying to work with communities to collect voice data in many languages. And I know many of these organizations are now trying to work towards making the internet multilingual. So you can do that through the Common Voice Fellowship, the Data Futures, which does projects on data stewardship. Then the one I just recently completed, so I've done 2, is a 3-year fellowship. It's a sort of doctoral program between Mozilla and a university. In my case, it was Northumbria University, where we were working on building open, secure, and trustworthy Internet of Things. So 5 of us on the project got to work on different aspects of Internet of Things, and we're sort of in the write-up phase right now. Then there are senior fellows who work on issues around trustworthy artificial intelligence, so things around bias, transparency, data governance, and so on and so forth. Coming to the end, responsible computing projects, where fellowships where you work with institutions of learning and you try to shape the curriculum in terms of trying to ensure that ethics is part of the computer science curriculum. So and actually right now there's a grant that's open if you're interested in shaping computer science curriculum like that. I'll share that also shortly. There are tech society, tech policy, web monetization, and so many other fellowships. So I think finally I'll just mention that there are grants that you can apply for to support some of your community initiatives. There's the Africa Morality in Real Life Fund for people working at the intersection of social justice and technology. There are awards for people who are using art and other forms of media to examine the role of technology. So I think, as I mentioned before, I've seen someone demonstrating Facebook data, but you can use different forms. You can create a short film and just apply for that fund and do that project. And finally, the one I talked about for the responsible computer science challenge. Yeah, I think I'll stop here for now, and I'll post the links onto the chat, and happy to take any questions from anyone. Thank you.